Okay, I'm assuming that we have done our installation. And if we are to be sure that we have done that after we have installed our JDK, that is the Java Development Kit, we go to Advanced System Settings, that's under Control Panel under System. We go to the environment variables. Our interest is to see that this path is reflecting that particular item that we want. My machine is running Windows 10, but if you're running a lower version like 7, like 8, still don't worry, the process comes to the same thing. So under system variables, look for the variable path. It's the value for that variable that we're interested in. And so we want to edit it. But what do we want to edit it with? And so it's important that we actually look for the folder where we installed our Java development kit, that is JDK. So we open that, realize mine is on the local disk, which is C, under program files. I open up the Java folder, the JDK folder, and the bin folder. Once that is open, all you need to do is to copy that entire address. And so once we have that address, we go back to this environment variables, click on path, and click on edit. Once you do, for my version, you realize that you have this kind of layout. So all you have to do is paste this on the next line, which is empty. And it will automatically put the commas in the variable value. If what you are running is a lower version, you'll find that what you'll be seeing will be this entire line the way it is, and you'll actually be seeing it without this very last bit. So all you have to do is leave what you have found there, just append a semicolon, and then paste your own address and also end it with a semicolon. Why we put a semicolon is to make sure that we separate the paths of the different applications so that the operating system does not mix them up when trying to access. Once that is done, simply click the OK button and we are good to go. Now, one may also want to be a little bit more sure and then go to command prompt. When you go to command prompt, realize I'm just changing directory, and what I'm doing here is to type Java version to see what is there. If it still says that there is an internal error, it cannot find this, this is not a recognized internal command, then most likely you have not set your path right. And so if there is no problem, then you should be able to see this. You could even do a javac. We all know what that means, and we should be able to see the version of what is running. Okay, back to our particular system. Our interest here is to try and run at least one, maybe one program. We could do one web application. Our interest here is to look at this interface. When you look at this interface, it's NetBeans IDE 8.0. I'm sure you have already installed that. So what you're going to do is to move to the file menu option and move to new project. Under new project, when you were doing the Java applications, you were just going to Java and you move to Java application. Now, if we want a Java enterprise, we go here. If we want a Java web, here we are. And so now we are just going to come up with a basic Java web. We are not even going to do much to it. So once you choose under categories Java Web, go to projects and choose a web application. When you move to the next portion, you're required to give this a name. And so I can say website. I can call my, maybe I can call it ECU website. So if that's the name of my project, you can go on after giving your project a name, just leave this default location so that automatically our projects are stored in the document folder. If you don't want your projects to be stored in the document folder, NetBeans projects, you can choose another folder. For now, I'm going to leave the default so that it is easy for me to find it. The project folder is going to be called UCU website, the name of the project. Once that is done, I simply move to the next stage. Under the next stage, realize that now we are talking about server settings. We talked about servers when we were introducing this. Under servers, we realize that there are these different servers. I want us to leave this because remember we talked about the web and we talked about the e-application. So we are going to leave this server as it is. Realize that because I selected Tomcat as well, it means I can choose a Tomcat server, but I'm going to leave Glassfish. If you have not checked Tomcat server during the installation, you will not be able to see it here. So try to make sure that as you're installing, please check the Tomcat server. So we have Glassfish server. It's the web server we shall be using, and we simply move to next. Now, at this point, we are trying to conclude with our framework. Remember, we talked about technologies under this server technology. So we are going to choose the Spring Web as our framework to use for this, and then we shall leave the rest as is and simply click on the finish button. Now, once this is done, a source folder is going to be created for us in our environment. You realize that we have a source folder, we have a set of data and so on. So you can see that you actually have a basic HTML file or code. Now that you have done web pages, you definitely understand all this. So that means we are going to have these displayed once we execute this. So if we try to run our program, we should be able to see that our application does not open up in the console, but opens up in a web browser. So it will do the loading, it will do the connecting to the server and so on, and then display what it has got from there. And that is why we are seeing this. Where is that coming from? It is actually coming from this kind of code. So that means as we progress, as we choose to do what kind of pages that we want to do, we shall actually be playing with this kind of code in here to change and show what we want to do, the CSS, to do any kind of forms and formattings that we want to do. So we could try this out and try to do your basic. You could change this here and there, and we should be able to add to this in our next session.